to be here in front of the DMA. It's an organization that's near and dear to my heart, having spent some time in it in the direct marketing business early on in my career. I can tell you it's always been on the forefront of business. What I'm going to talk about today is the fact that we're all aware of this. We're all aware of this increasing power that customers have. The fact that customers increasingly are able to push back, and they do. And some of you are probably worried about this. A lot of people think this is the beginning of the end for marketing, but I don't think so. I think it's the beginning of a new beginning. I think there's a tremendous opportunity that exists out here for first movers in a new environment of empowered customers. And that's what I'm going to try to explain. That's what we try to explain in our book, Extreme Trust. First, start with the fact that trust has always been important. You know, it's always been important to have your customers' trust. And if you really had to boil down the elements of trust, if you think about what it really means, well, there are a couple of elements. First, trust involves competence. Do you think that somebody is competent to do their job, to deliver the product on time to you? Will it be a quality product? Is it at a reasonable price? Those are all the elements of competence. But also, the second requirement is good intentions. Do you think the person has good intentions? Or here's a baby being thrown up by his dad. Is the dad competent enough to catch the baby? And does he want to catch the baby? Those are the two questions that go through the baby's mind, right? Competence and good intentions could be thought of as doing things right and doing the right thing. So trust has always been important. Then along comes Moore's Law. Every 20 years, computers get 1,000 times faster and more powerful. There's more computer power in your mobile phone than was available to the entire NASA organization in 1969 when they put a man on the moon. Computers are incredibly powerful today, and they're not slowing down. They're getting more and more powerful at a rate of about twice as much every 18 to 24 months. There's a corollary to Moore's Law, sometimes known as Zuckerberg's Law. Every 20 years, we interact 1,000 times as much with other people. Now, you think about your life 20 years ago, before cell phones, before Facebook, before status updates, Twitter, okay, before LinkedIn. A lot of you didn't have email 20 years ago. You probably interact about 1,000 times as much today as you did 20 years ago. And your children will interact 1,000 times as much as you do 20 years from now. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. One of the most important components of any interaction is trust. Trust. The more we interact, the more trust we demand for several reasons. First, trust makes interactions efficient. Think about it. When you turn on your computer in the morning and you see 50 inbound messages in your inbox, what's the first thing you do? Delete a bunch, right? Mostly the ones that are coming in from people, not that you don't trust them so much, but that you know that they're trying to sell you something. It's in their interest, not in your interest, right? They're not watching out for you. They're watching out for themselves. They want to get your attention. Please, please, please. You delete, delete, delete. You filter information with trust. You filter that information. That's how we decide what to pay attention to. Can we trust it? And trust generates interaction generates transparency. Whether it's Arab Spring or WikiLeaks, the world is more it's more expensive today to keep a secret than it ever has been. Anything anyone in the world can know today, everyone in the world can know tomorrow. So trust is really, really critical. Because if you're not trustworthy, word is going to get out. Word's going to get out. We are in the age of transparency. A Forrester study found that 83% of consumers trust what their friends tell them. More than half of consumers trust the recommendations and opinions of total strangers whose reviews of products they read online. Only about 14% of people trust advertising. Why would that be? It's not because advertisers lie, but advertisers' messages are biased in their favor. The reason an advertiser or a direct marketer or any business is willing to pay money to put a message in front of a consumer is not, in general, not to improve the consumer's life, but to improve the advertiser's bottom line. Consumers aren't stupid. They know this. That's why they don't try. They get information from advertisers. They get information from marketers, you know, and they expect that information to be true, but they don't trust them. They don't trust, because advertising is in the advertiser's interest, not in your interest. And we've all sort of grown up with this. But the situation is changing. The situation is changing. Transparency is like a disinfectant for business. It's going to clean things up, but first, it stings like hell. There's a lot of businesses going to get stung by transparency. I'll give you some examples later in my talk. Transparency rewards good products, and it mercilessly punishes bad ones. Do you remember the movie Bruno? Anybody see that movie? I love Sacha Baron Cohen's movie generally, okay? But this was a bad movie. This was really a bad movie. And in an unprecedented action, people left this movie tweeting and texting their friends to save their money. Box office receipts were down 40% the day following the release of the movie. This has never happened before in Hollywood. The day after the release of the movie, box office receipts plummeted. Word of mouth. Word of mouth is a vicious thing. It was death by tweet. Screw up today, the news is going to be permanent. As Linda Kaplan-Thaler said, you can't un-Google yourself. Once you're there, it's in a permanent record. Or as somebody said a little more picturesquely, dude, you can't take something bad off the internet. That's like trying to take pee out of a swimming pool. Once the pee's in the pool, you can't get it out. So, Martha Rogers and I think that that because of the rapid increase in technology for interacting, because people are interacting so much more today than before, that there's a new standard of trust that's going to be expected of businesses. Consumers are going to hold businesses to a new standard of trustworthiness. It's no longer enough simply to refrain from stealing from your customers or cheating them. Instead, consumers are going to expect you to proactively watch out for their interests. They're going to expect proactive trustworthiness, or what Martha and I call trustability. Trustability, proactive trustworthiness, that a business will go out of its way to protect a customer's interest. There's lots of examples of this, lots of examples of it, but if you had to boil down the definition of trustability, it is doing things right and doing the right thing proactively. Let me give you some examples. Amazon, great example. Ever try to buy a book on Amazon that you already bought from them one time? Before they sell it to you, they remind you, hey, you already bought this book once. You sure you want to buy it again? See, they could make a profit by selling you the book. It'd actually be more profitable for them just let you make them. It's your mistake, it's not their mistake. They're not cheating you if they sell you the book that you're buying by mistake. But they're using their database, which is probably better than your database, to remind you that you already have the book. iTunes does the same thing. Usaa, the direct writing insurance company, they've made a fortune as an insurance company that has historically specialized in serving military families and in auto, property, and health insurance. Okay? And they constantly are watching out for their members. And any USAA members out here? Okay, so you tell everybody else at the table what great company they are.